The Tommy Campbell Show. The stage is set for the UFC Freedom 250 fight at the White House. I can't believe I'm even saying that sentence. It sounds like the trailer for Idiocracy 2. In a world where the president takes dumps in his pants and sleeps at his desk, the White House will celebrate his 80th birthday with a UFC cage match sponsored by Brondo. It's got what plants crave. This entire setup is so ridiculous. It looks like a beacon to space trying to alert the aliens. Look, we've gotten too stupid. Please blow this place up immediately. Yes, the guy that said, "I love the inflation," shut down New York, causing pure chaos for fans so he could get booed and then sleep through an NBA final, wants an octagon fight in his backyard. And he's getting it because this rich brat has always gotten whatever he's desired. Okay, not Ivanka, so not everything. But do we really need to see two grown men punching each other in the throat on the White House lawn next to VIPs eating cake and matching clown shoes while people are struggling with their bills? According to recent federal court filings from a lawsuit trying to block this madness, the setup has cost well over $60 million. To be clear, that bill is being covered by the UFC and its billionaire buddies, but it has required a monumental, exhausting effort from 7 different federal agencies, including Homeland Security and the FAA, and that's not free. Crews have spent weeks building a massive temporary 5,000-seat arena on the South Lawn. At the center of it is a 30-foot octagon surrounded by a towering 92-foot, 600-ton steel structural arch nicknamed the Claw. The whole thing looks like a cross between a toddler's playmat and a dystopian McDonald's drive-thru.
The first is America, and the ideal behind America is the impossible. That someone tells you can't do that, or that's never going to happen. The whole idea of America is audacious. The very idea that America, that you could have a country where founded on the principle that your rights come not from your government or from your leaders, your rights come from your creator. It was an audacious idea. No one else believed that at the world at that time. And that's the foundation. But then beyond that, everything we've done since then as a nation, time and again. How can you achieve some of the things, we're going to put a man on the moon? When President Kennedy announced that we were going to put a man on the moon and return him safely to the earth, no one thought that was possible, and we did it. We are a nation founded on doing what no one else dared to do and no one else aspired to do. And at some level, that's what this whole company, what UFC has been.
I was wondering where he was going with that. Yeah, thanks, Marco. I feel like the idea of America has gone from the impossible to impossibly stupid. Trying to equate putting a man on the moon to the UFC in a fight at the White House is next level. And there is a lot of sleaze going on here. Internal Pentagon memos revealed that hundreds of junior enlisted troops are being recruited as human props and seat fillers. They're being told to wear their formal short-sleeve dress uniforms and act as a live studio audience for Trump's birthday. But neither the Pentagon nor the UFC is covering their travel or hotel. Yes, the lowest paid junior enlisted personnel have to pay out of pocket just to get to Washington and become decorative houseplants for Donald Trump. And they have to do it on a hot, humid, and potentially miserable night. The National Weather Service forecast for June 14th is calling for thunderstorms with conditions predicted to deteriorate right when the main title card begins. The multi-million-dollar Ego Pod is entirely open air on the dirt and grass, and these troops are sitting there in their pristine formal uniforms getting absolutely blasted by sideways rain while Donald Trump watches a guy get a concussion from falling on a ring that's become a $60 million slip and slide. They say the event will go on rain or shine, but lightning will delay or stop it. Honestly, if there were ever a time for Trump to do his signature move and hug a flagpole, this would be it. We've all seen those creepy images of Donald Trump aggressively hugging an American flag, and we know Melania's worked a few polls in her day. The timing would be golden for a 1,000,000-volt bolt of lightning. That's how we'll light those 80 candles on the cake. Now that would be wonderful television. And this isn't a traditional pay-per-view event. The card is airing on Paramount+. The ring mat and padded corners are completely covered in corporate logos, including Bud Light. Yes, the same beer that they all canceled is the calorie-reduced lowered alcohol beverage of choice for the hardcore fans. The same crowd that posted videos of themselves blowing up cases of Bud Light will be sitting under the glow of its logo. Other sponsors include Pit Boss Grills, Made in China, and Dodge Ram. The crowd control plan is a logistical nightmare compared with a standard heavily vetted state dinner, although once Trump nods off in his seat, at least the Secret Service only has to protect a stationary target. But he needs $1 billion ballroom, right?
Subscribe.
And of course, the entity standing to profit the most is the UFC and its parent company, TKO Group Holdings, that has triggered massive conflict of interest complaints from watchdog groups because Trump's own financial disclosures show that he personally bought up to 50 grand worth of stock in the company that's throwing him the birthday party. He is using the White House to host an infomercial for his own stock portfolio. Now, I'm not an MMA fan. In fact, even if this was a sport I actually like women's beach volleyball, I would still have a problem with it. Hosting a commercial athletic event on the lawn of the White House is inherently absurd, but the actual culture of the UFC is what's just makes it so much worse. But the office has long lost its dignity in every way.
The president keeps saying that there's election fraud in the California mayoral race. What evidence is there to prove that?
You tell me, Manu. They are counting votes weeks after the election. We have entire nations with huge populations, like India, that can count their votes in 24 to 48 hours.
You're saying it's rigged like the president?
I'm not saying it's rigged. I'm saying it stinks to high heaven, and everybody knows that. Let's remove the appearance of impropriety. Let's have what a concept. Let's have votes on an election the day of the election. That's what many states are able to do. I think California is playing around with this.
But what evidence is there to prove that there was rigged?
Look, some of these efforts are so diabolical and so far upstream it is impossible to prove. But I think everybody knows instinctively something is wrong here. And that's a concern. We need people to believe in the integrity of our election system. It is critical to maintain a constitutional republic.
If you want people to believe in elections, stop calling them a sham whenever your guy loses. Honestly, we shouldn't be shocked that a super religious fella is going all in on a theory that is completely impossible to prove. This is Mike Johnson's entire comfort zone. The man has spent his entire life anchored on the concept of invisible forces, unprovable claims, and blind faith. He has a literal Lifetime Achievement Award in ignoring the reality right in front of his face in favor of a gut feeling. If you tell Mike Johnson there's zero physical evidence or data to support a claim, he doesn't see a lack of proof. He sees a Tuesday night prayer request. He is literally telling voters to substitute actual physical verification with a hunch. The irony is that the only reason the California count is taking time is because state election workers are manually checking the barcodes, opening envelopes, and verifying the signatures on mail-in ballots to ensure everything is secure. These strict security measures Mike Johnson claims he wants are the exact reason the process takes a week. And keep in mind, his entire meltdown over the California vote count is happening because they thought another person from a reality show would join Trump's team in politics. Spencer Pratt, the guy who spent an entire season of The Hills completely obsessed with the healing power of crystals. He spent over $1 million on his personal collection, famously brought a crystal-tipped wand to restaurants to read the menu's energy, and currently runs an online crystal emporium. He literally markets them on the premise that a rose quartz can heal physical pain. I'll take things you don't see in hospitals for $1,000, Alex. Fox saw all his appearances and figured he was a lock, but social media and interviews doesn't guarantee a vote. You can use $1 million magic wand to read the spiritual energy of the restaurant menu all you want, but it turns out the only thing a ballot scanner reads is the ink, and the majority of the boxes were not ticked next to his name.
Yeah, Charlotte, well, we got this. We've been through this before. We eradicated the screwworm in 1966, and we'll talk about this. But this is another thing we can thank Joe Biden for, that when millions of people came out of Central America, they brought this screwworm with them. It was on their pets, maybe on their flesh as well.
Every time the screwworm comes up in the news, I change the channel because it freaks my wife out. For those who don't know, the screwworm is a horrifying flesh-eating parasite that lays eggs in open wounds. It was fully eradicated 60 years ago in the US, but it's back. This guy is a doctor, and he knows how it works and who to blame. It's not immigrants. Okay, one. The parasite had already been moving north, but Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, massively weakened the federal agency responsible for stopping it. The USDA entered this crisis with staffing down roughly 25% and a shortage of sterile flies. They didn't invent the maggot, they just fired the part of the team holding the fly swatters. And how do you actually stop a screwworm outbreak? Science. The government literally has to breed millions of male flies, blast them with radiation so they Peter North duds, then drop them out of airplanes to aggressively cockblock the wild population. The fact that the American government accidentally defunded its own insect birth control program is a special level of embarrassing. And come on, claiming immigrants are bringing screwworm across the border on their pets is absurd. These people are making a dangerous journey with barely enough food and water to survive, but yeah, Bring the dog. The Canadian government looked at this administrative train wreck and immediately shut down the border to all Texas livestock. Now, the direct risk of a permanent maggot outbreak in Canada is low, mostly because the parasites are completely unequipped to handle a winter in Ted Cruz's hometown of Calgary, which is funny because Ted Cruz is unequipped to handle a winter in Texas. I make this independent show on my own. If you love what I do, consider leaving me a tip, become a member for extras, hit up my referral links, and stream my stand-up on Spotify.
Yeah, policies are we're not going to allow people that have criminal or maybe perceived to have criminal ties to come into this country. I don't care what your situation is. I'm not going to get into why we denied this individual, but there's a reason why this person was denied. Now, the left media wants to go out there and report and say this guy's a victim of because we're anti-Somalia. No, we're not. We work closely with FIFA. And the administration on a regular basis. We talk to FIFA and their directors constantly. Anybody that was denied, we made the case for and showed them why they were denied. Now, to get into the specifics of it, I'm not getting into the specifics of it. But Iran chose that was a difficult path. If there was any country we wasn't going to allow in here, Iran would probably be the reason why we wouldn't allow them in here. But we did, and we worked closely with the individuals with restrictions. And so there was more than just these two, there was multiple individuals throughout. We have a World Cup here. We got a lot of countries that doesn't exactly have access to the United States, and we did a phenomenal job on getting as many people cleared as we could, but some people just can't clear. And that's just the way it works with getting a visa to come to this great country.
To be completely clear, that referee is not some guy off the street who hopped on a plane hoping to volunteer for a pickup game. Omar Artan is Somalia's only FIFA World Cup referee and is widely recognized as the single best match official in Africa, winning Best Male Referee of the Year, and went through a multi-year vetting process by FIFA just to earn his spot on that pitch. He jumped through every single official hoop, did everything exactly right, and was fully issued a valid U.S. travel visa. But the second he landed in Miami, border officials pulled him into an interrogation room for 11 straight hours, dumped him in a holding cell, and deported him. Then the administration tried to justify it by leaking a vague, evidence-free rumor to ESPN claiming he had suspected terror ties. The administration wants you to believe their vetting system is so sharp that they caught a dangerous global threat hiding behind a neon yellow referee uniform and a plastic whistle. If FIFA's vetting process is so broken that they accidentally let a guy with terror ties onto the World Cup roster, then how are we supposed to trust the exact same organization when they handed Donald Trump a Peace Prize? Gianni has Donald Trump on absolute speed dial. Trump even bragged on camera that he and his buddy Gianni are working very closely to ensure the right people enter the country for the tournament. Infantino has the power to demand exceptions for his own elite staff, but the second a highly qualified African official gets thrown into an airport holding cell, the head of FIFA washes his hands of it so he doesn't upset his powerful friend. Even BC Premier David Eby publicly said Artan would be welcomed in Vancouver and called for him to referee a match there. But by then, U.S. authorities had already sent him away. America looked at Africa's top referee and said, suspected terror ties. Europe looked at him and said, here, have the Super Cup in August. I'm very excited about the World Cup, whether it's a watch party in your community or going to a friend's house. It brings people together. I used to live in the UK. My wife's a Brit. They're football mad. So, I've gotten some of that, My son loves playing it. His buddies are excited. I'm going to a game because that's what live sports are about, making bad decisions with credit cards. I mean, it could be the best decision, though. But that's why I usually just prefer concerts, because you don't pay $200 to hope U2 wins. Another China-owned villain. I love that you think a guy making a show for free in his basement gets a secret check from China every week. First off, learn to capitalize and spell if you're going to drop a public comment. Let me be clear. I write, produce, present, and edit this entire show by myself, thankfully supported by a few awesome people throwing me a buck or two to help keep the lights on, because if you haven't noticed, there wasn't a sponsor on this episode. Trust me, if Beijing were actually pumping cash into this show, I'd be a right-wing podcast host, because if I remember correctly, it was them that got caught getting $10 million from a foreign dictatorship, not the guy with with the DIY backdrop, MAGA tears. Looks like I found we're anti-freedom libs watch a geek with a hair problems. When your party tried to overthrow the peaceful transfer of power and has ICE patrolling sporting events, you probably shouldn't be calling liberals anti-freedom. And yeah, I do have hair problems. So does your leader with his botched surgery ferret pelt of a head. As does the guy hosting the Idiocracy 2 fight this Sunday. Does Dana's baldness bother you too? Or is this the heads of people speaking truths you can't handle that get your skid-marked Value Village Hanes in a twist? MAGA tears. Aggressively hugging an American flag, working that pole like Lauren Boebert. We know... fight in his backyard, and he's getting it because this rich brat has gotten whatever he's desired his entire life. Okay, not Ivanka, so not everything. She's so hot. And come on, claiming immigrants are bringing screwworm, so much trouble saying screwworm. If you're new to the show, I have trouble with R's. So how do you actually stop with screwworm? How do you actually stop with screwworm up like screwworm?
I can confirm the Tommy Campbell Show is the best political comedy show on YouTube. And I hope you subscribe.